Hello all, and welcome to Brewing with Jim, hosted by Jim Brewington. Jim is a pastor and a teacher, and has served in these roles for the past 45 years. He has worked in small churches and mega churches, primarily as a teacher serving both the hearing and the deaf population. We have surveyed the students here at CVCS and do our best to create a genuine conversation around the talking points the students want to know most about. Thank you all for listening and taking time to brew on Life's Questions with Jim. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brewing with Jim. I am your producer, Grady Sanchez, and as always...
And I'm here.
Jim is here. This is
Yes.
Episode 21. We were
You
just
believe that?
typing in the save header here, and it was episode 21. That's a lot of shows.
It's quite a few. It doesn't seem
doing a good
like
job.
that many because it's fun to do these.
That's right.
Yeah, it is. What do you want to do today?
And today we have a great topic for you all. As we're recording, it is the middle of March. We've been talking about, or we're based out of a high school, and so we have a bunch of college acceptance letters for our high school students, and they are transitioning on to the next phase of life. And I have students who are always wanting for the next phase of life. They're ready to be an adult. They're 14 and already done with high school. They always are looking forward to that next phase of their life. So today's question is, how do you deal with transitions in your life?
When you just said that, it made me wonder, do they all look forward to this change in life? Most of the people that I have talked to about changes in life don't look forward to them. There's always a step into the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
There's a step into I'm familiar with what I am now, good or bad. At least I'm familiar with it. And now I'm going to be doing something that I'm not familiar with. People talk about it, and they talk about it in a good way, but I'm not sure. I have a little trepidation.
For me, like growing up when I was in high school, in previous episodes we had talked, like for me it was a job. It was something for me to do. So I was always looking for, okay, I'm in high school, now I'm looking forward to college. Okay, I'm in college, now I'm ready for adult life, almost because I was just ready for something new. I was ready for something different. I was just ready to put what I did in the past behind me and move forward and begin a new journey.
Well, people talk about, I'm in high school to get myself ready to go to college, to get myself ready for the real life. But this is the real life.
Right.
Wherever we are right now is the real life.
You are living, it is the real life.
That's right, it is. Let's tackle this topic and see what we can come up with. Let me talk about for just a moment minor changes in our life. Changes in our life are inescapable. There is no such thing as a life anywhere that I'm aware of, especially a human life, where changes don't happen. We have minor changes in our life that are not really earth-shattering, but they're annoying to some people. They're frustrating to people. Sometimes people become anxious with even the minor changes in their life. Or if their default emotion is anger, then they become angry, ticked off that these things have happened in their life. For example, just something simple like driving to the grocery store, and there's been construction on the road, or there's been an accident, and you have to detour.
Gotta take that detour.
Oh, no, this isn't the way I planned it. That's just a way of life. You just have to go with the detour. But there are some people who get annoyed with that. I had friends recently who visited me and some other people. My friends from Kansas City, a couple of guys, twins, identical twins, close friends. They come out, and then they're ready to fly home. And they fly home, but they told me that the trip home was horrible. If you fly from Orange County to Kansas City, you have to stop somewhere. There are no straight flights. There is a straight flight from Long Beach Airport to Kansas City. But so here they are. You have to go to Phoenix. You have to go to Denver. You have to go sometimes to Salt Lake City. Okay. They were told when they got to the airport that there were some delays in the flights. They could not make their connection in Phoenix. So we're going to offer you this option. You may fly to Newark, New Jersey. And make the connection there and then come back to Kansas City. You will be overflying your destination, but that's the option. Or you can just spend the night somewhere and come back tomorrow and we'll get you on the. Okay. That is frustrating to people. But I've traveled. I've flown from all of these domestic flights. I've flown from LAX, Los Angeles, to Heathrow in London, and to Nairobi. I have flown to Hong Kong, Bangkok, to Japan. I'm just picking some of these things. One time when we were in Hong Kong, we were supposed to get on a plane and fly back to Los Angeles, but there, for some reason that I still don't remember or understand, those flights were all canceled. We were in the airport 16 hours, and I walked up finally to one of the people who work for the airlines, and I said, just get me to the United States. I don't care where in the United States, any airport in the United States, just get me there. And they said they couldn't do it, that they could fly us to Japan, where we would have a 10-hour layover. And, okay, this is a nightmare. But I have solved this problem in my own life. Before I travel somewhere, I just chalk the day up to a travel day or 2 days. And these things happen, and it may happen. Caught the news this morning. There's a horrendously historical, almost snowstorm coming into Denver. Hundreds and hundreds of flights are canceled. That's a change in a person's life. It's not earth-shattering. It's not a huge life-changing change, but it's something that we have to deal with. And the way I handle these changes is just no going in, that there's a possibility that this isn't going to work out smoothly.
Yeah, so small changes there. Give yourself a little bit of buffer. Like, understand, hey, I'm driving to work. It's my usual commute, but I'm always going to try to show up 15 minutes early because you never know what's going to be on the road. Like, create yourself a little bit of buffer so that when something does happen, it's not full panic. Oh my goodness, I'm late. Now the world is ending.
Have a plan B.
Yeah.
Always have a plan B. It doesn't have to be set up in detail because you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But if you and your family are going to a restaurant for dinner and you get there and you find out, surprisingly, the restaurant's closed. It wasn't closed yesterday, but it's closed today. And we didn't know that. It wasn't supposed to be closed. What's the plan B? Well, you have to go to another restaurant. Has anybody thought about which other one they want to go to? I can tell you my wife has. She has already thought, okay, if this doesn't work out for some reason that we can't expect or understand, then we just do that. We go to some other place. All right, these are minor changes. They happen every day here at the school. Every day. We have schedule changes that most of the time we know are going to happen at least a week ahead of time. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we're going to give an exam and we didn't check the athletic schedule closely, and half the class is gone for their game. Now, what am I going to do? Well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my plan B. And plan B is either I don't give the exam today, or I give the exam today and I have a different version of the exam that I give it to the other kids.
And a bunch of makeup tests.
A bunch of makeup tests. All right, let's talk for a second about major life changes. These are more difficult to handle, and I jotted down, anticipating this question, some major changes that have happened to me in my life, and probably have happened to you, and probably have happened to most of the people who may be listening right now. We changed living location. We're going to move, and we're not going to move down the street. We're going to move to some foreign state in the United States. We're going to move somewhere, and that can be our choice. It can be at least an option that our boss has given to us, that we want you in our location in another state. How disruptive is that in life? It's huge, huge. We have to do something with the house. We have to sell the house. We have to move all the furniture. We have to. I have to go through all this? You know, the move, and then we have to settle in. And do we have friends there? Or do we know anybody there? Do we have a job there?
You gotta find a new grocery store, a new commute, a new everything, and
New driver's license?
yes,
New, what else? It's new hospital, new doctors, everything. How do you put up with that? How do you endure that? Well, you kind of know going in that you're going to have to do all those things, and I think that takes the tension off. What are we trying to do? Get rid of the unknown. And it's going to be unknown, but we are not sure of the details of what it will be like on the other side.
yeah, and in those moving changes, it's kind of just creating a priority list. Okay, hey, what are the things that need to get done now, and what can wait? And even that will take the edge off of the unknown.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. There are some people, I'm going down a little rabbit trail here, but there are some people who get become annoyed, or at least flustered if there's any kind of change. Well, the mail comes by 10 o'clock in the morning and it's noon and the mail's not here. What's going on? I'm disrupted that the mail isn't here. Come on, get a life. You're going to make it fine through all of this. But I have read, and I believe it's probably true, that most people have sometime in their life changed careers. I have changed careers 3 times, maybe 4 times in my life. That's a huge change. That's an adjustment to your work day, to your work goals, to the way you approach what you're doing, the value in your life in a particular place. Changing careers is a big, big thing. And sometimes it's relieving because the old career, either I've done all I could, I just need to change somehow and do something else. And this seems like it's opportunistic because the door's open and I can get right into changing life, careers.
Yeah, even I have gone through, let's see, I'm not 30 yet. I'll be 30 in July. 1, 2, 3. Three career changes.
Already?
Coming out of college, college, I got a job in retail management. I did that for like 1 or 2 years. And then I kind of exhausted all my stuff there. I realized like I could do more than this. So then I went to go be a firefighter. Went through academy, went through interviews, went through all that, worked in construction, EMT, and then realized like that career is not for me and who I am. And then teaching and coaching was what I always wanted to do. So that was my final career change is into teaching and coaching, and I don't anticipate going anywhere for a long time.
Good. Good for you.
Yeah.
I similarly
Yeah.
Graduated from college and went to the military. Well, being a college student is a career. It is a profession. And I think we talked about this before in one of the other episodes, okay? And then going into the military, you can't imagine what kind of an adjustment that is. Being under that kind of discipline, training, schooling, how do you put on the uniform? I mean, everything.
Make your bed,
Exactly.
brush your teeth, chew your food. My buddy who's in the Air Force, so
Yes.
he's telling me all the stories coming back.
Well, I'm sure they're all the same. I was in the Navy. And changing, living on a ship instead of living on land and going into a combat zone in Vietnam and that kind of alertness and tension and some fear of what could possibly happen. And we change these careers. How do we deal with that? We're forced to. We don't really have a choice. We can't really say no to some of these career changes. I was in the restaurant business, a horrible business, wonderful business, horrible business, for 27 years. For 4 years in college, I worked in one of the first drive-through fast food restaurants. It was wonderful. We had the best time. Most of the people who worked there were college students.
Roller skates?
No, but you know what? I know all about that. We had a place in Lubbock called the Heidi Ho, and that was a drive-in with roller skate people coming out of the car hops.
Yeah.
And they didn't hop, they rolled. And they came out and they put a little placard on your windshield, underneath the windshield wiper with a number on it so they could know what number their order was going to. And there was a poem, we are way off base here, but there was a poem on the back of that I still remember. When you want to call your waiter and you're waiting, all forlorn, you can get him to you quicker with your lights than with your horn. For there ain't a man among us who has eyesight that has growed to the point where he can look around and see whose horn has blowed. Okay.
Well, all right.
Okay, well, that's a little piece of
cobweb.
information that I
That's
have.
enough right there. I love it.
We're completely off topic here. I did several careers.
Yeah.
And here I am. I never expected I'd be teaching high school. And I didn't want to teach high school. I was sort of dragged into teaching high school. While I had a career, if you call it a career, in pastoral ministry. I was in the pulpit for 42 years and am still in the pulpit without the pulpit. Now I have a microphone in my mouth, or I have students sitting in front of me. People who change schools. And we're talking about these kids right here, these students
they're going from
right
high school
here.
to college.
That's a change, and they're going to have to deal with it somehow. They're forced to deal with it. If they make the decision they're going to go to college, then you have to adjust to whatever the college routine is. I think the way to handle some of this is just let it happen and do the best you can to be happy while it's happening, and realize that there is a larger goal here. But at the same time, this is the real life. Enjoy what you're doing right now. Some people change churches.
Yeah.
And that's not traumatic usually because it's not forced, but it's an option, and one church seems to be preferential, at least for the moment, while the other church was preferential but isn't now.
And then on the college end of things, like we have students, like I guess one of the things is like some of your changes don't need to be like concrete. There's so many changes within college. Students go from one college to another college, junior college to a four-year college. Four-year college, they went out into, they're coming from Southern California and they went to Wisconsin, and then they realized there's winter somewhere else. Like, I cannot do this. I need to go back. Like, understand that, like, there's change, which is good, and there's change which can be changed back. Like, you can always adapt from your changes. And so, like, some of these decisions are not forever. So if that Wisconsin winter is just dominating you, and
it will.
It will. And you can no longer put up with that because you're used to the 72 and sunny January winters that we get here. It's okay to make a change, but understand what the greater good is, or understand what the greater plan is.
But the change is still a change,
yeah,
and it requires adjustment.
Yeah, and there's another change, so a change on another change. And it's just kind of like, okay.
It's a way of life.
And when I was talking about priorities when we're moving, like here's my priority list. It's the same thing. What is your priority? Is your priority a diploma? Is your priority, hey, the Wisconsin alumni are just the best in the whole world and I really want to go there?
Or here's an unusual one.
Yeah.
Is your priority learning?
Yeah, or is it learning? Like, hey, I can't. I literally, like, I don't want to go to class when it's snowing. I'm like, okay, well, then you kind of like put a halt to your learning process because you're not making class, you're not studying so much anymore. So now you got to go make a change to where you're going to be most productive.
All these changes. Some changes, though, that come to mind are very serious and very permanently life-changing, like an injury, and maybe somebody loses a limb, or they have an illness, and the end of the illness leaves the result that there is an organ maybe that no longer functions the way it's supposed to. That's going to change life in a dramatic
and then just
dynamic way.
Taking like illness and injury just to the next level. My father-in-law passed away this summer, and it has just kind of thrown the family for a loop. He was really he was the breadwinner. He supported a lot of families. He owned a business, and it's just like, okay, without him, what is the business? Without him, what is like family gatherings? And it's just kind of, even when grandparents passed, we were always going to Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, all the holidays, we would go to the grandparents. Now all of my grandparents have passed. So now it's a change in the family. Who's going where? Who's hosting? The changing of the guard.
The changing of family dynamics is guaranteed. It's going to happen. Somebody gets married, their life changes enormously. Somebody gets a divorce, their life changes enormously. And everybody who's associated with the divorce, I don't like the word. My favorite word in the English language is reconciliation, but divorce happens. We have over 50%, statistically over 50% of the marriages in the United States end in divorce. And that's both inside the church and outside of the church. I have had people tell me in counseling, my kids will be better off if we're divorced because of the chaos that's at home right now and the arguing, and they don't live in any kind of peace. I don't agree. There is nothing more traumatic that I can think of at the moment regarding family dynamics than a divorce for kids. They will never get over it. It will affect their marriage. It affects their relationships.
Yeah, I come from a divorced family. My parents had split when I was 17, and so the way that my wife and and her parents are divorced too, and so the way that we want to run our family, we're married. We come from a family of divorce. Like, we're trying to change things for the better and learn what we did from our parents, but also like how are we going to grow as a family into the direction.
Well, let me ask you a personal question then. When you were 17 years old and your parents divorced, I don't know if you saw that or coming or not, but did that affect you emotionally?
Yeah, so we saw it coming. My brother and I saw it coming. And so on that part, it wasn't necessarily a surprise, but how we kind of responded to the change or the topic of change in our family was, well, I would just go kind of escape to a girlfriend or baseball or hang out with friends.
So that was the way you handled it.
Yeah, and my schedule is as busy as it is now. I just am doing different things. Actually, not really math and baseball, so it's the same. So it just kind of changed in my response and how I dealt with my family home and seeked comfort and peace.
Well, you and I have both dealt with. There's got to be a better way to say this. You and I have both experienced the birth of a child into our family. We had a couple of sons, and you have.
I have two daughters.
Two daughters. That will change life.
It sure did.
That changes because you lose sleep. My excuse was, you have to get up and take care of the kid because I have to go to work tomorrow.
My wife hasn't slept in 5.5 years.
I was
for 5 years or so.
Okay, that changes things a lot. Death in the family, as you mentioned, deaths have a natural chronological order of occurring, but sometimes things get out of order. Of course, all four of my grandparents have died. Well, you would expect that. That's just going to happen. Both of my parents are gone, and that's the right order of things. But before my dad died, my sister died. And that was completely out of order. That wasn't supposed to happen. It was a shock. It was not foreseen. It happened suddenly. And my grieving was a heaving grieving because I loved my sister. And I was the one who had to tell my dad that she had passed. That kind of change still affects me. And that was years and years ago, and it still affects me. Debbie and I lost our son. Our son died unexpectedly, suddenly. He was 31 years old, and I can tell you I haven't gotten over it. I doubt I ever will. My grief is something that has befriended me. I want my grief. I don't like it. I don't like being around it, but it helps me to grieve properly. Well, that changed our lives enormously. And Debbie and I have had to handle, if you will, that change in different ways. She enjoys, or at least it's helpful for her to talk about his childhood and his schooling incidents in his life. I can't stand it because it just starts the grief all over again. So she wants to talk about it, and I want to avoid talking about it. We're handling things differently, but you know what? We are handling things. Unless you have more examples or more thoughts on this, let me kind of conclude this topic.
Yeah, just, I guess, following up with the loss of your son, the birth of my daughter was just amazing. Like, my my
Were
wife.
you in the delivery room?
I was, yeah, but
Me too.
I just remember getting the phone call where my wife and I. It wasn't really planned. So when I got the phone call,
What wasn't planned? The birth?
the conception of my daughter.
You can kind of, the conception.
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay.
And so I just remember like
Kind of like
I was
Mary
on,
and Joseph.
Yeah, I was just I was I was trying to be a firefighter. I knew I had time because it was just my wife and I, and so it was just us. And so when I got the phone call, I was working. You had mentioned you were a bartender. I was a bartender at the Hyatt in Huntington Beach. I got the phone call. She says, "I'm pregnant," and I could not think about anything for the rest of the day. I remember I was carrying a stack of probably 25 glasses, and I misjudged a step, and all the glasses came
Oh,
falling
my
down,
goodness.
and it just a giant crash and glass everywhere. It was just, my head was in a different space, and it was just,
That is so hard.
and like having just your world change in the matter of an instant and how beautiful and how lovely and how many great things and what a blessing my daughter is. It just, the fact of like the change was so great. It just took me by so much surprise, and we were so grateful and so happy. And I just remember that day so vividly. And then our priorities had to change. I didn't have time to wait out. The average time to get hired as a firefighter, 7 years. I was in 6 months, so I didn't have 6 more years to go be an EMT making not that much money. So I needed to go pursue what I wanted to pursue. And
Those
career
changes
change,
were
so,
forced, though.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Yeah.
Now, if you have the birth of the daughter and the glory that goes with having a child that you love, and that has to make the change that is forced justifiable, worthwhile. You really you want it, but it's still a change. There are times when you don't want it. There is no compensatory balance on the other side, that you just have to make the change, like the death of a child. I am sure there is nothing that is more difficult to deal with than the death of a child.
No.
I can't imagine that there would be anything more difficult. Well, we've come to the point where change is inevitable. It's going to happen. It can be little things, and you can have a plan B, and you can just know that this is the way life is, and here's another change. You can have a big change in your life, and you have to deal with that in a way that is a stronger, more radical, more dynamic, and somehow you have to figure that out. And I am not the guru to tell people who are listening how you figure that out. But I can tell you one thing. You can have a relationship with Jesus. Yeah. And the relationship with Jesus will let you know, and it's truth, that he is on the other side of your change, and he's already there, and he will take care of you and provide all of your needs. He is the comforter. He is the supporter of your life with love. He is everything that you will need. He's also the provider of wisdom on how you can handle the change. He makes BFF, best friend forever. There's no better example than that. And that relationship is available for the asking, and he wants it. Yeah. So there is my suggestion for dealing with this.
In a previous podcast, we focused on Christ as a foundation. And if life is ever changing, it's being built on sand. Some things go wrong, some things go right. But if you have Christ as that firm foundation, that is in itself the whole idea. Is life changes. It's a given. Death, taxes, and I guess change.
Yes.
And so with Christ as the foundation, as Christ as the center point, as Christ as the focus of, hey, we're going to get through this change together, whether it's you and your spouse, you and a friend, you and whoever the other human is, but Christ is there along with you, taking you along, holding your hand, making sure that you make it through the other side.
Amen. People, when our son died, they would talk to us. And often people would say, well, I just can't imagine. I said, no, you can't, and don't even try. But I can tell you this, I don't know how people can make it through this kind of an incident without Jesus. I just don't know how people do it. They do it with drugs, alcohol, anger, bitterness, depression, but that's not necessary. Okay, amen. Now, let me change the subject, listeners, and tell you I have bad news and I have good news. And the bad news is, from my perspective, that Grady, my friend, the producer of this, is not going to be producing this anymore for a good reason from his perspective, and that is that he is moving to a foreign state, Idaho, right?
I am, yes.
Let me just tell you how I'm going to miss him. I think this is a change I'm going to have to deal with. He encourages me. He sits with me and helps me during the recording of these broadcasts. He does a lot of work outside, away from the microphone, with organization. The questions that come in it's invaluable. And does that mean invaluable? No, it's valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the opposite. What does invaluable mean? I'll have to look that up later.
Absolute value.
He is.
That's a math term.
Absolute value. We have a
right.
sign for absolute value, positive and negative. Okay. I am happy for him, and I'm also happy that he and I have both decided together, looking each other in the eye, that our friendship is going to continue.
Yes, of course.
And I want that, and he wants that, and we're both going to initiate it. It's not going to just happen. But somebody has to replace what he is doing, and they won't necessarily replace it in the same way. It'll be a different way probably, but that person has already been chosen. And that person has chosen to do this job, and I have, first choice, chosen this person, and I'm not going to tell you who it is. You can listen to the next episode, and that person will be here. I can tell you that he is intelligent, just as Grady is. He is articulate. He is witty. He is an organizer. He is everything I would hope for this job.
And he's got a great laugh.
And he has
His laugh is the best on campus.
He does have a good laugh. And so I'm sure we'll have fun, and you listeners will enjoy tuning in too. But I don't know how to say goodbye to Grady because I'm not saying goodbye to him. Where are you going?
I'm going to Middleton, Idaho. So I got an opportunity to buy a house, and I did. And out here in California, raising a family of 2 girls and a lovely wife and a dog, and just seeing what our long-term goals were. And again, change, it was not something that went without a pros cons list and all of the prioritization of what we wanted as a family. And so I'll be moving out to Middleton, Idaho this July in 2024 for all the archives of the future Brewing with Jims. And I've just had a blast with Jim. I've learned so much, even in this own episode. I have gained so much wisdom from him and
thank you,
and the show. And as these questions are being asked, sometimes they're a little bit. The students are seeing into my own soul, and they're seeing who I am.
Yes.
And the questions are reflective of what I'm going through my life at that time too, what I've been trying to deal with over the years. So, thank you all for being just a warm audience, a receptive souls, and thank you, Jim, for your friendship, your guidance, your wisdom, and I look forward to continuing our great friendship through the years and years.
Me too. Yeah.
Through telephone, and you'll have a new listener in Idaho every week. So you check the matrix.
If listeners, I'm talking to you now, you have any kind of encouraging words you would like to give to Grady, brewingwithjim@gmail.com. We'll get those to him. Always appreciate your comments and your feedback.
Yes. And for me, thank you, Jim. Thank you, audience, for listening. It's been a blast. I've had so much fun. And now it's time for my own change. So thank you all for listening. And we'll be back.
I'll talk to you soon.
Next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
topics covered and answers offered in Brewing with Jim mine the wisdom attained from a life of pastoral ministry and care. They do not constitute professional or clinical training or expertise in the areas of counseling or mental health. CVCS and its podcast network want to provide a platform for the discipleship of our community. Brewing with Jim is our attempt to foster that environment in a format that is accessible and open for all to partake in. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and may or may not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Capistrano Valley Christian Schools or its faculty. The material and information presented here are for general information purposes only.
This episode has been a production of the Capistrano Valley Christian Schools Podcast Network. Capistrano Valley Christian Schools is a Christian JK-12 school in San Juan Capistrano, California. Be sure to check out, subscribe to, and leave a review of this show and the other shows on our network on your podcast player of choice. Doing so supports the school community in a multitude of ways. For more information about the CVCS Podcast Network or any of our other shows, check out cvcs.org or email podcasts@cvcs.org. On behalf of the whole network, this is Mr. Jasper saying thank you again for listening and stay tuned for more.